Hi there. This exercise is going to aim to target explosivity as you're propelling yourself forwards in running or walking or hiking, as well as improving the control in the transition phase between leg movements. So it's a combination of a few things. It could be a combination of a split squat, some of the standing versions of the Pilates scissors, as well as fairly well established sprinting and running drills. It's going to work on the leg that's in front predominantly, but in the early levels you can share the effort a little bit. So in terms of what it looks like, when you're starting off with this, we start with a simple level and progress as is appropriate, thinking about those key aspects of optimal loading as we go through the series. So the front leg is going to be in essence, the drive leg at this point. Although some people refer to the leg coming forwards as the drive leg as well. It doesn't really matter which way you're approaching that. But the power leg here, the one generating the lift and the propulsion, is going to be predominantly the front leg. As we're trying to mimic natural patterns, if your right leg is forwards, your right arm will be back and your left arm out in front. And we want a relatively short stride length here, which means the standing knee is not going to be particularly bent for the first aspect of this sequence. Taking it slowly to start with, you just stand up and then switch the arms and legs around, and you can see that the standing leg goes from a position of being bent to a position of being relatively straight, although critically not snapped back into hyperextension or an extended position. So there's a feeling of cushioning in that knee, particularly at the end, and that's important to carry forwards as we introduce more pace. And that's the first way you will change the effort needed and the control needed in this exercise. So from your start position, we just slightly increase the pace, and at this end point, that's where you want to have the control all the way through. So the coming up is fine, but if you're unable to control your balance at the top, then you need to adjust something. And what we're doing with this swing leg, this driving swing leg, is making sure that it's going forwards. So your foot, knee and hip are taking you in the direction you want to go. We don't want it coming across the body, we certainly don't want the foot swinging out. There's a purposeful momentum involved with the direction of that drive leg. So there's the basic kind of premise for the exercise. When it comes to the second of the progressions, the first one being the speed at which you come up into that lift, the second one would be the length of your stride. So the further back that trailing leg, the more you're going to have to bend the standing knee, and therefore the more effort is required to straighten it. Bigger knee bend, more work for that drive standing leg, more work for the quadriceps and all the other muscles which facilitate this combined movement of straightening the standing leg. And so you can then gradually increase the stride length, and that will improve your quality as you get better at it. If you don't feel you've got control at any point, don't arbitrarily take the leg back because you think the further back it has to go in order to make the exercise better. That's not an approach which is particularly helpful. So if you find that going into a bigger stride length, you lose that control, just go back to the stride length where you're happy. And remember that in terms of running, we're not going to be having whopping great stride lengths anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're not going particularly far back. But by the end of it, you can do little repetitions. And the final thing I'd say for this first, I suppose, sequence, the introductory sequence, is you can apportion different elements of where you're generating the power from, simply by kind of telling your body how you want to facilitate the movement. So a lot of people will push very heavily off the back leg. As they come up, they're springing, and the majority of the work is kind of being generated in their mind by that push. Simply switch your attention to this leg, and then tell yourself, no, I want to push up with that leg, and I can immediately feel like I'm not generating much of a push from the toes of the rear leg. So that simple switching of thought to where you want the movement generated from will really focus in the muscles needed in that standing leg. On to the progression. We're going to remove the back leg from the floor through the majority of the exercise. So because we're making this essentially an open chain exercise where that leg is now swinging through the air and not pushing off the deck, shorten your stride length again just to get to grips with it. You can have the toe on the floor just to start with, but remove the foot, and now all of the effort has to be on this leg, as this one can't do anything, so fairly obvious there. but you still want to have that control. You can increase the relative stride length, although you're not touching the deck, and the more that leg goes back, the more the standing leg has to bend, and the more effort is required, and the more control will be needed throughout your movement. But this is a really great one to get that control and explosivity in your pushing leg. There are other variations to this. You could hold on to something with your hands and have a resistance band tied around your rear leg, so that as you come forwards, you're getting a little bit more difficulty there. A really lovely other variation is, again, probably to hold on for this one, but you can have a resistance band around either leg to try and generate a medial pull, and if you're resisting that and then bringing up that leg, that's going to be working all of that lateral tract and the gluteus medius, preventing the leg getting pulled inwards. So feel free to get creative. Basically, any way you're trying to pull the legs will challenge you to a greater degree, but you're probably going to have to hold on because that pull of the band will upset your balance quite a lot. But you can certainly vary it in those ways to just add different elements to this exercise. You don't want to feel any loss of control. The pelvis and the lumbar spine will stay pretty much neutral throughout all of this. And as always, you're thinking about quality of movement. And if you notice a drop in quality, go back to the last level you felt comfortable at and practice there until you're able to move on.